class. You guys all ready? Okay. So last time we did the posterior leg. Today we're going to do the anterior leg. So the front of the leg. You guys should all know these terms by now, but I'll repeat them a little bit. So who wants to be our model for today? All right, come on up. Okay, so you have shorts on, right? Okay, good. So get comfortable, lay on your back. All right, and we will use you as our model. So everybody else, come on up. Okay. Are you comfortable? Okay, great. All right, so we are going to start with the front of the leg. We're going to start with the foot. So the foot we can do relatively quickly. We're probably going to need a whole separate class for the hand. But we can do the foot pretty quickly, especially the top of the foot. So we're going to start off with the Peroneus tertius. What else can it be called? Fibularis, correct. So this runs from a little above your ankle. You can see. So let's point it out here on you. So it's going to be here. All right. And it runs all the way down. You don't mind me touching you, correct? I assume since you offered to be a model. Okay, but I want to confirm. All right, so it's okay if I touch your legs. Right. There are a few muscles that are up near the groin that I will not touch, but I will show you where it is. So this is right above the ankle, right here. Okay, and you can't feel it very much unless we're moving which toe? Pinky toe, correct. So this runs down to your little toe. It connects at the anterior distal fibula, front of the leg, and it goes down to the base of the fifth metatarsal. So, based on where it goes, what do you think it does? Yep, eversion of foot, and it assists in dorsiflexion because it's on the top of the foot. Okay, so can you lift your foot up? I want you to come over here, place your hand right where I showed you where that muscle is, and then point and flex your foot for me, please. Great. Can you find that spot on the other leg? Okay. So then keep pointing and flexing your foot back and forth. Okay. Thank you. Can you feel that? Okay. It's very hard to palpate unless the foot is moving. It's hard to find that muscle. But again, Peroneus, what? Peroneus tertius, correct. Okay, great. And we already did the lateral foot. Okay, so next we're going to do the other four toes. So this is the extensor, digitorum, brevis. Sometimes I couldn't read my own writing, and it looked like Digitown, and I'm like, that's not right. So extensor digitoris brevis, and it goes from the anterior calcaneus. So it goes from, I'm going to touch your ankle, the top of your ankle, right in the front, all the way down to your other four toes. So this does not go up on the calf at all. And it goes down to the extensor expansion of the four medial toes. So everything but the pinky. And what do you think it does? It aids an extension of the four medial toes at the MP joints. So this does not go all the way down to the end of the toes. It just goes to the second joint of the toe. Yep. So this one is very, very difficult to palpate. Well, I say that. It's not really, actually. So place your hand on the top of their foot. So it's going to be, place it a little bit more medially, so towards the big toe. And then I want you to flex and point your toe. Okay, so you can kind of feel that moving around in there. All right, so that is your digitorum. Extensor, digitorum, brevis. But I'm going to call it digitorum from now on. Okay, so this is the one that goes all the way to the base of those toes. So this is the extensor digitorum longus. So this one goes from right below your knee actually, I take that back because this does not go to your big toe. I forgot we have a separate one for that. So this one is going to go to the distal phalanges. So phalanges, right all the way to the end of the toe. Middle and distal phalanges of the 4 lateral toes versus the medial toes, which we just did. So, and it goes from the lateral condyle of the tibia, proximal 2/3 of the anterior shaft of the fibula. Okay, so you can see where that attaches in there. I have it colored orange on this one. Okay, so to palpate, I'm going to place my fingers on the outside of your shin. So if you find the bone in the middle of the shin, and then move laterally. Yep. Move to the outside just a little though. You can feel that muscle. It's a pretty large muscle. So actually, I find it's easier to find actually when you're not moving your foot. So can you try finding that on her? And you can find it on yourself too. If you don't have time to get up to the model, this one's easy to find on yourself. So, and what do you think it does? Extension of the lateral toes at the MP joint, and assists dorsiflexion of the ankles, so lifting your ankle up. Okay. Any questions? Okay. You're not going to massage much on the top of the foot, a little bit, unless you're just doing foot massage, but you are going to massage this muscle, and I tend to use my 2 knuckles going down the side of the bone to massage this muscle. Okay, so let's find our next anterior muscle. So this is the one that goes all the way to the big toe, and this is the extensor hallucis longus. See that? So it's about the same spot right by the knee, but on the medial part of the knee. So it goes from the anterior shaft of the fibula to the interosseous of the membrane to the base of the distal foot phalanx of the great toe, big toe. So this is another one that you can easily find on yourself, or you can find on our model. I'm going to show you where it is on our model. So it's right on the inside of the knee. This one it goes all the way down almost to the ankle. So it's one, if you move medially from the bone, you're going to feel it all the way down. Again, it's another one where I tend to use my 2 knuckles on either side of the bone and just go up from the calf. And what do you think it does based on what it looks like? Extension of great toe at the IP joint and assists dorsiflexion of the ankle. Okay, so that is the front of the foot. Let's see, am I missing anything? No. So we're moving now up the leg. So we have hit the muscles on the front of the calf, and we are now moving up into the thigh. So the one I am not going to palpate because it is at the groin, but I will show it to you on our model. So it goes from the anterior pubis and it attaches down between the lesser trochanter and the linea aspera of the posterior femur. So, sorry, I haven't mentioned the name. What's it called? Pectineus, correct. So, what do you think this does based on how it looks? Flexion of the femur at the hip, assists adduction of the femur at the hip, correct. So, it pulls your leg up and in. So, on our model, I'm not going to touch her because, again, this is something you are not going to massage, but you might, depending on what you're allowed to do in whatever state you end up practicing in, you may be able to show how to stretch it. So this goes from right, I'm going to just hover my hand over our model. So this goes from the pubis down into the thigh, okay, and attaches at the bone right there. So you can do, when they talk about doing a hip flexor stretch, so if you put one leg with your knee up, your foot on the ground, and then your other knee on the ground, so you're kind of, you've got a one knee kneel with the other leg up, and then you lean forward, that's gonna help stretch this out on the back leg. So, but again, depending on the state, you want to make sure you stay within scope of practice. You may not be able to show any stretching. You may have to send them to a PT. I will sometimes recommend the stretching book by, I think, Johnson & Johnson. I think it's, I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I mean, I could like draw the front of the book for you, but it's a husband and wife team, I believe, that wrote it. It's very old. Even when I have gone to see physical therapists, they have often printed out pages from this book. So you can find it on the internet if you're looking for stretching, but it's just got very good home stretching routines. And so, you know, recommending a book I feel more comfortable with if I'm working outside of my scope of practice or referring to a PT. So our next muscle is the, here, I'll turn it this way, it's a little easier to see, Sartorius. So this has an origin at the anterior superior iliac spine. So the hip, basically, right, the top of the hip, and attaches at the, insertion is at the upper medial shaft of the tibia. So this one does, as you can see, wrap around the knee and attach all the way down at the calf. So what is sort of the opposite of this one? Your IT band, correct. So that's the other one that goes all the way over the hip and the knee. Yeah. So what do you think this does based on what it looks like? It assists in flexion, abduction, right? Because look at how it attaches. So if that was pulled taut, it would pull your leg out, right? Lateral rotation of the femur at the hip, and assists flexion and medial rotation of the knee. So this is one of the supporting muscles of the knee. Again, it's one of the things that if you can see the knee tape I have on, it is going around working with the IT band and my Sartorius because of my knee issues at the moment. Okay, so we have the Sartorius, and then we have another one that we will massage a bit, but not all the way up to the origin, because the origin is at the pubis. So this is the Gracilis, and it goes from the inferior ramus of anterior pubis to the medial proximal tibia. So another one that wraps around the inside of the knee. And I will show you where these are on our model in a minute, but they kind of overlap a little bit. So, so what do you think this one does? Adduction, correct, of the femur and the hip. Assists flexion and medial rotation of the flexed hip. So, Sartorius, it's going to, I'm going to touch your hip, don't be surprised. So right at the top of the iliac crest, we all know how to find the iliac at this point, correct? Okay, so right near, not all the way at the top, but where it starts to go down and taper in on me and on our model here, and then it goes all the way. Do you know where to palpate this on the inside of the knee? Very good, yes. So right underneath the knee, at the calf, and it wraps around to the front. So it's really interesting how these support the knee. Okay, and then it runs, I'm gonna run this up your thigh. So is that okay? I'm gonna go all the way up to your hip. Okay, you got your shorts on. So this one runs right across, diagonally across the front of the thigh up to this hip. Okay. Yep. So real important stabilizing muscle. And then the gracilis, again, when you reach the inside of the thigh, and you are always going to do this pretty much right above the knee and not up much higher. So 2 hand lengths above the knee, maybe a tiny bit higher on a very tall person, but like on me, you know, more than 3 hand lengths and you're really getting into the groin area, so you're not going to massage that. And it goes from the inside of the pubis, which I am not going to touch on her, but it runs, so here I'm going to touch where it connects on the inside of the knee, right below the knee, and then it goes, and it does not go all the way to the front of the calf, just down here, and it runs all the way up on the inside of her thigh. Now I'm going to stop at about halfway up, and then it will continue up. I'm going to hover my hand to right at the pubis. So we'll do a little bit with that on the inside of the calf, of the thigh. But this is when you're going to be really careful with, and if somebody is really having issues with this muscle, this is one where stretching will be imperative because it's not something you're going to do a lot of massage on. So, okay, let's move on. I think we have a couple more. Yes, put these out here. Those go in there. we're missing something. Yes, okay. So we have the big muscles. Oof, my cards are so old. It just shows how old I am. So another one that we're going to be very careful massaging, we're only going to massage half of it, is the adductor magnus. So to see where this is on the body, you know, sometimes if I turn it, depends on how visual you are, if you can see where that is in the body, even when it's turned in different directions. So that's what it looks like, because this one has come unglued. So its origin is the anterior head of the inferior ramus of the pubis, and its posterior head is the ischial tuberosity and ramus of the ischium. Okay, so can you see that on the where it connects on the pubis? And then it connects above the knee. So the anterior head of the linea aspera of the femur and the posterior head of the adductor tubercle of the femur. So what do you think this one does? It's called the adductor magnus. Yeah, so adduction at the femur, of the femur at the hip. So it pulls your leg in, and the anterior head assists in flexion, so it pulls it towards your body, and medial rotation of the femur at hip, because look at how it connects. So it does a whole lot of things, because you can see sort of those three different muscles really that are in there. So it helps at the posterior head, assists in extension and lateral rotation. So again, I'm going to hover where this is on our model. So right at the pubis, and then it goes down to the to right above the knee on the inside of the leg. So this is another one. You will do a bit of massage, but you're not going to massage the whole thing because it's too close to the pubis. But when you're doing, I tend to do the front of the leg with my forearms. Again, less invasive. I can go higher up somebody's leg with my forearm without them feeling uncomfortable, rather than using my hands and kind of slowly moving up their inner thigh, going to make somebody uncomfortable. So I tend to use a lot of oil, and I tend to use my arms because it's a big muscle. I mean, your quadriceps are really, one that you're going to want to massage. And you can't get at much of the quadriceps if you're really avoiding the groin area. So I find like people don't feel uncomfortable with my elbow being relatively closer to their groin than my hand. So that's how I do it. We'll go over the massage technique at some point too, but all right, so here we go. So this is part of the quads. Where are the rest of the quads on here? We've done those two. Okay. So, okay. Where is the other part of the quads? In here. I may have to do that another time, because I don't know where the front of the quads have gone. Or the other part of the quads. We've done those. Yeah, then this moves on to the back. We also didn't fully do the glutes, which we should do. We'll do that when we do the torso. So, quadriceps, vastus medialis, lateralis, and intermedius. So, the medialis, the origin is the linea aspera of the posterior femur. The lateralis is the linea aspera of the posterior greater trochanter of the femur. And the intermedius is the anterior and lateral femoral shaft. So hip. Yeah, basically, oh, wrong way. So basically, it attaches at your hip. But you will need to know all of that for your massage test. And unless you really specialize, forever after you will call it the quads. Where does it insert? At the patella. So right at the knee, tibial tuberosity, and via the patellar ligament. So this is the other one that is being supported by my taping. So I have K-tape that goes all across the top. That's supporting those quadriceps. So what do the quadriceps do? Extension of the knee. It's really all they do. I mean, it's a big muscle and you think of it as doing a lot more, but extension of the knee is plenty. It's a big job. So there we go with the quadriceps. So where are the quadriceps on our model? They go from, again, it's the hip bone, so right at the hip. They all attach, so you have the one that runs down the middle. Let's start off with that. So that's going to attach at the front of the hip. It's going to run all the way down to the patella. But a lot of that is the patellar ligament. So you aren't going to do much with the ligament itself. But then on either side of that muscle going from the hip, and it really is just either side of the hip. You just have to memorize the terms so that you can pass your massage test. But the reality is it attaches to the top of the hip. And then it goes down either side to connect on either side of the patella. Okay? Well, to either side of the patella ligament, but it attaches at the ligament much farther down than the central muscle does. Okay? So, any questions about that? Okay. All right. So we will be going over probably, we may do arms next time, or we may do back. If we do back, I know I will have lots of people wanting to be models, but don't worry. So after this morning, oh, I did miss one, I think. I did. Okay. Nope. Nope, I didn't. I thought I did. I just want to make sure that I did not miss anything. And I don't think I did. Okay, so this afternoon we are going to pair up and do massages. So everybody will be very happy, I am sure, with being able to get a massage this afternoon. The only thing I want to close on is maybe a little bit of stretching that you can do in the massage. So the front of the leg, I'm just going to show you on a model. So I'm going to lift up the leg and just rotate it outwards a little bit, rotate it inwards a little bit, and hang it off the side of the massage table, and then I'm going to place my hand on underneath the knee to support the knee and push down the opposite hip. How's that feel? Doesn't that feel nice? Okay, so that's stretching out that inside of the thigh that we're not going to work very much. Now, you can also press down on the knee. Does that feel okay? All right. Good. So we'll do more stretching work when we do massages this afternoon. But thank you to our model. Okay. And I will see you after lunch. If you have any questions, feel free to come up. Okay.